Have you ever just looked at someone and thought, how did they do that? How did they completely transform their life? While the rest of us feel like we're stuck in this endless loop of making and breaking the same old promises to ourselves. Well, today, we're going to dig into the real secret behind lasting change. And here's a hint. It has almost nothing to do with willpower or trying harder. It's all about becoming the architect of a new you. So let's just dive right into the heart of it, right? This is the big question. Why is it that some people can make these massive shifts? They become healthier, more productive, you name it, while so many of us feel like we're just spinning our wheels. You know the feeling, making the same resolutions every year, only to find ourselves back at square one. It's a really frustrating cycle, but it's one we are absolutely going to talk about breaking today. Okay, so the answer really comes down to which path you decide to walk. Most of us, we're taught to take the common path, which is all about motivation. It's about getting amped up, getting hyped for a change. But there is a much more effective way, and that's the path of identity. Let's really get into why one of these paths pretty much always leads to a dead end, and why the other one is the key to real, lasting transformation. First things first, we've got to talk about the biggest thing standing in our way. I like to call it the motivation myth. We've been sold this idea that if we just get motivated enough, if we just want it badly enough, we can do anything. But what if I told you that relying on motivation is actually one of the worst strategies you could possibly use? I mean, this chart just says it all, doesn't it? We have all lived this. You wake up Monday morning, you're fired up, you're ready to conquer the world. Your motivation is through the roof. But then, Friday evening rolls around, you're exhausted from the week. Where is that motivation now? Or worse, you have a really bad day at work and your motivation just completely tanks. See, motivation is a feeling. It's fleeting. And trying to build lasting change on a feeling is like trying to build a house on quicksand. It's just not going to work. And this right here, this quote, really hits the nail on the head. The whole motivation model is based on willpower, on just gritting your teeth and pushing through. But that's like trying to swim directly against a powerful river current. Your environment, who you hang out with, what's in your kitchen, the apps on your phone, that's the current. And you can be the strongest swimmer in the world, but eventually, that current is going to win. It always does. So, if motivation is a sinking ship, what's our lifeboat? Well, it's a really simple but incredibly profound shift in how we look at things. We need to stop focusing on what we do and start focusing on who we are. Let's dive into the real engine that actually drives our behavior, our identity. And here it is. This is the big idea. If you take away only one thing from our time together, let it be this. True, lasting behavior change is really identity change. It's not about forcing yourself to do something. It's about changing the very belief you have about yourself. And once you do that, everything else starts to fall into place. That's where the real magic happens. Let's make this super practical. Think about a typical goal, right? I want to lose 20 pounds. That's an outcome. It's a finish line. Now compare that to an identity-based goal. I am a person who is active and healthy. Can you just feel the difference in your gut? One is about reaching a destination. The other is about who you are on the journey every single day. When you focus on being that person, the doing part just kind of takes care of itself. Now I know what you might be thinking. This all sounds a little abstract, maybe a little woo-woo. But what's so cool is that this is all backed by some really solid science. So how do we actually get in there, under the hood, and start rewiring our own brains to build this new identity? Let's get into the fun stuff. The secret weapon here has a fancy name, neuroplasticity. But the idea behind it is actually beautiful and simple. Basically, your brain isn't fixed. It's more like a muscle or maybe like plastic that you can remold. Every time you have a thought or perform an action, you're strengthening certain connections in your brain. The big takeaway is just this. Your brain can literally change. You are not stuck with the wiring you have today. And here's the best part. It's not complicated. You can think of it like carving a new path through a dense forest. The very first time, it's hard work. So you start with one tiny action. I mean, tiny, like doing one push-up or meditating for just 60 seconds. Then you repeat it, and again, and again. Every single time you repeat it, you're clearing that path a little more. Your brain is physically building and strengthening that neural connection. And before you know it, that little dirt path becomes a paved road and then a superhighway. The habit becomes automatic, effortless. You've literally rewired your brain. So what does all this mean for you, for me, for all of us? It means you're not just a passenger along for the ride in your own life. Not at all. You are the architect. You have the power, right now, to design and build a new version of yourself, one tiny brick, one tiny action at a time. And every good architect needs a toolkit, right? So here's yours. First, design your environment so that it's easy to succeed. Put your running shoes by the door. Hide the junk food. Make the good habits obvious and the bad habits difficult. Second, and this is so important, remember that every single action you take is like casting a vote for the type of person you want to become. Eating a salad? That's a vote for I'm a healthy person. Reading one page of a book? That's a vote for I'm a reader. And finally, the golden rule. Start ridiculously small. I mean so small you can't possibly say no. 2 minutes of yoga, flossing one tooth. Make it easy to cast those votes. So let's wrap this all up. I want you to just forget about motivation for a second. Forget about these huge, overwhelming goals. Instead, I want you to ask yourself a much simpler, much more powerful question. Who do I want to become? And then, what is the one tiny, almost laughably small vote I can cast for that future self today, right now? Because that's where it all begins.